Good afternoon, everybody. It's Saturday afternoon. So, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is where you are. I'm here for another live catch up with Mayo, which I've been trying to do every Saturday around 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, that vicinity, Eastern time. And I love doing this, and I'm trying to do it once a week. So, I'm here today to just hang out with you for a while, take some questions. This is your time where you can comment on the channel, anything you want to discuss there, anything within reason. We'll go through together, and looking forward to it. So I see we got Brian was here early, and James Farley, and Patrick Sweden. Howdy to everybody. Hello, Mike Wall Jasper, and hello, Robbie, Detroit's Vinyl. I hope you're happy that I got a vinyl video up. I mean, haven't been buying as much vinyl as usual, although one of the next videos I'm going to do is going to surprise some of you. It's a vinyl finds video, and it's Beatles related, but I think you'll be very interested in the idea. So here we go. Dino, hello there. What's going on, Dino? Hello, Chris. It's Penny Lane. What's going on, Penny Lane? And we have Joe F., and that's a very good start. Thank you all. Welcome. And let us commence. And I've got my big alien green cup of water to help me along here. Yo, Johnny, what's going on? Charlie Welch, hello, Brad Hill. All right. So, what's on your so-called minds? And Mr. Blood Vessel. Hey, Mr. Blood Vessel. I was very happy, very, very happy. You got that video up today. It made my day. Well, I hope more went on better with your day than just watching me make a vinyl video. But I know you like vinyl, Robbie, and so do I. A lot of things happen with me in fluctuations. I go with the flow, as I say. When I feel like getting into something, I do. When I'm out of something for a while, I'm out of it. It's just the way it is. I'm back kind of into vinyl a little bit now. So still buying within my discretion. Yeah, the Magical Mystery Tour Horzu I have already. The Beatles Fest is coming up next month. Yeah, it is coming up. What are the dates? March 28th, I think. March 28th, 29th, and 30th. Jersey City, New Jersey, Hyatt Regency. Please consider going to the Fest for Beatles fans. I'd like to say hello. Make sure you say, hey, what's up, Mayo? If you're there, if you decide to attend. I agree with you. Stereo cuts are hard to beat on that Horzu German Magical Mystery Tour. All fans love the German Magical Mystery Tour Horzu album. It's also on Apple. Later releases are on Apple. The first original ones, Horzu. Oh, look at Dino stealing that fact line at the end from somebody. But Lila says, when you hear there will be a biopic or TV movie or movie made featuring either all Beatles or individual members played by actors, are you excited or squirm a possibility what's to come? I think a little bit of both, because I keep thinking to myself it's impossible, really, to do a really good movie about the Beatles. So far, all the ones they've tried to do haven't been too good, with the exception of one called Backbeat. This is just my opinion, of course. In my opinion, Backbeat was a good early Beatles around the Hamburg, Germany type era. That was a good movie, a good Beatles film, and they got the feeling of it right on that. But for the most part, yeah. So I kind of do dread it when I hear, oh, gee, they're going to do a Beatles related movie. Other times, I think, maybe they'll get it right. So it's exciting. I watched your old video showing your Elvis extended plays. Do you still have them? Yes, I do. I'm not getting rid of my Elvis extended plays. Speaking of Elvis, the Elvis Horzu album is highly sought after also. Do you like Small Faces? I just ordered the brand new vinyl box set. Some songs, sure. Looking for a bootleg live California Jam 74 with Sabbath, ELP, Deep Purple, and more. Hi, folks. Did I say hello already? Yes, I did, but there's nothing else to say. Favorite American bands: Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Steve Miller Band. I guess some Beach Boys, The Cars, Blondie, Joan Jett, the Blackhearts. I was a roadie for Black Sabbath. That was a great gig. I imagine so. Probably kind of trippy. The first time I won trivia at the Beatle Fest, I won a Backbeat T-shirt. Yeah, I wish I had one. Would you like there to be a movie based solely on Yoko Ono? Oh, I wouldn't. I wouldn't mind that as long as it was done right and done well. Sure. Is this a fact? Ozzy's not doing so well these days, sadly. Sadly, Ozzy quite a character. I also just ordered the 4 CD set, Paul McCartney Cold Cuts Boot. Uh, I really wish, and I don't want to, I don't want to wish bad on you, Brad, but sometimes when somebody goes ahead and buys something that's not really official, then they put it out officially after that. It's like, geez, I just bought the fake one, and then they put out the real one. I'm really hoping that McCartney eventually puts out some kind of cold cuts compilation, which is what I'm really looking forward to. I mean, there's no announcement, no announcement. Don't go by me. There's nothing official, but I'm just saying sometimes you buy something and then you get screwed. So hopefully that's a sign that after Brad buys it, there's going to be an announcement that there's a real one. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. What Beatles tune would I say would have made a great Bond theme? I don't think any of them fit the Bond themes. And again, if I had time to think of 200 and something songs and one by one, maybe I'd be able to think of it. Anybody got any ideas for that? Any inside info on Paul's new release? None at all. No. All I've heard is that he's maybe mixing some stuff. He's mixing maybe new material, and that there may be a new album out this year sometime. That's all I know at this point. Cold cuts are good question. Cold cuts are B sides of Paul McCartney's bonus tracks. There was talk for many years in the 70s and such that Paul would put out a compilation called Cold Cuts, which would be different cuts, rare tracks, B sides, unusual songs. I don't know anything about Bond with Amazon, but I know about Beatles and Disney. I don't really like Beatles and Disney being linked up together. However, I guess the idea was when I first heard that maybe Disney could somehow make the Beatles out there and noticeable to younger audiences. Maybe that's what I was thinking when I first heard of that. Do I like Motley Crue? Not especially. I was all in on punk rock and the Sex Pistols in the 70s. Happiness is a Warm Gun is a James Bond theme. What do you think, folks? What do you think of that one? Anybody got any other ideas? Beatles songs that could make a good Bond theme? Yeah, the Knack was good for 5 or 10 minutes. I remember when they were big. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, that was the idea behind that. You know, some of the soundtrack music for the movie Help, which is 60 years old this year. By the way, if you've never seen Help, anybody want to see Help that hasn't seen it? Last I saw it was on YouTube currently, believe it or not. You better go see Help on YouTube before it gets taken down. But anyway, yeah, they tried to make it very Bondian. It was the idea was the Beatles were like being hunted, like by spies and all this kind of stuff. So it was a fun, kind of like rollicking gag. Really, it was just for fun. It was a lark, but it was an adventure film, and I thought it was fun. Help. I'm glad you showed A Man of a Thousand Faces. Yeah, that was the my Vinyl Finds video. It was a soundtrack to an old movie, I think 1956, with James Cagney about uh, Lon Chaney Sr., who was the Man of a Thousand Faces, makeup genius actor. Favorite John Lennon song that was not a hit song? Well, lots of them. I mean, off the top of my head, I could go with something like Stealing Glass. I could go with from the Mind Games album, the song I Know. Those are two that pop in my head. Hey, Pumping Vinyl. And you watched Help just yesterday on YouTube. Peace out. Thanks, Johnny. The drummer for the Jam and Jerry Butler from the original Impressions passed away. I watched the Music Box. Laurel and Hardy on YouTube cried laughing. Yeah, I just watched the Music Box myself. Isn't that interesting? I just checked that one out myself recently because I got a the Blu-ray series of, I forget what it's called. I don't remember the title exactly, but it has some, not all, Laurel and Hardy's early talkie shorts, but it is out on Blu-ray. Help. Well, or was. I don't know about anymore. You know, when was the first time you saw the Three Stooges movie? I don't. Three Stooges when I was a kid. I think my dad and I used to watch them. Used to be on a TV show in New York called Officer Joe Bolton. Guy was like, a policeman who hosted. He would joke around with the kids, and then he would show Three Stooges movies and also The Little Rascals. Yes, yes, yes. Stan Laurel says "Bounding Over Your Steps" in that movie, The Music Box, that was mentioned. Do you watch filming location videos? Sometimes I do. Yeah, and are you sad to see that most of the actual location is gone? Well, it depends. From movie to movie. Some of the locations are intact, pretty good, and some of them are missing. And yeah, sometimes it can be a sad experience. I think they're not there anymore. Let's see. Yeah, Tom Hunyadi is in Nashville to see Ringo. Ringo played yesterday at the Grand Ole Opry. He did 3 songs. He did a song from his new country album called "Time on My Hands," which is very good. He did "Act Naturally," which is country flavored Buck Owen cover. And then he also did "With a Little Help from My Friends," and that was in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opry. So there's a little info. The Help movie was better than a James Bond movie. Well, it depends what you're into. I'm a James Bond fan, so I'm okay. On my way home now. Oh, on my way home, Tom. I got a video that I'm going to be posting, pretty soon about me buying some interesting vinyl. Let's put it that way. So anyway, what do you think about Clint Eastwood as an actor? I don't know. Kind of laid back, a little laid back, kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad about Clint Eastwood. I mean, he's a hero in these movies. Whether it's Dirty Harry or the westerns. Clint got all the cool parts. My favorite actor is Charlton Heston, as I often say, not because I think he's technically the greatest actor, but I just liked his versatility. Versatility might not be the right word. He got a lot of different parts. He played a lot of different kinds of parts. How good he was in them, it's a matter of opinion, but I grew up with him as a hero. He was a hero in like the biblical movies, Ten Commandments and Ben-Hur, and he was also a hero in science fiction movies like The Omega Man, Planet of the Apes, and Soylent Green, and things like that. And he was like in Airport 75, saving the day, and trying to save the day in the airplane disaster, stuff like that, Earthquake. So I kind of grew up with him like that. His favorite actress, probably Meryl Streep. I think Meryl Streep can play almost anything, and even the other night when she was on the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary, although she did break up. She was laughing. Two movie projects that never panned out: A Talent for Loving, yeah, and Lord of the Rings is supposed to be Beatles films they were going to do. Which do you think would have been a better fit for the Beatles? Well, Lord of the Rings I don't think fits the Beatles at all, and A Talent for Loving, which I don't know what that movie came out to be. I don't know if it's a romantic movie or what it is, but neither one seems like a Beatles movie to me. If a new album by anybody comes out, what would make you decide CD or vinyl format for that particular album? Well, in most cases, I'd probably just get the CD these days. It depends who it is. I mean, obviously, when the solo Beatles, Paul and Ringo, when they come out with a new album, I buy both the vinyl and the CD. Depends what the album is. It depends how good it is. Like Hackney Diamonds, a good example, by the Rolling Stones. I loved that album, and I bought Hackney Diamonds on both CD and vinyl. Do I like any TV westerns? I like The Rifleman a little bit with Chuck Connors. I don't watch a lot of TV westerns. I tried to get into Bonanza. Tried to get, you know, tried to get into Bonanza for a while. Didn't watch enough of it. Let's see. Oh, that's terrible. Brian Seltz of the Stray Cats. Setzer, right? I don't think there's an L in there. Setzer, I think it is. But anyway, autoimmune disease, can't play guitar. Jeez. Yeah, Charlton Heston was in Westerns too. There was a really good one called Arrowhead. He was in. Will Penny is another one. Big Country. There's one called The Last Hard Man. And when I say The Last Hard Man, I don't mean hard that way. I mean, hard isn't tough, I think. How's Danny doing these days? I talked to him, I think it was yesterday. I talked to him pretty regularly. He's doing great. No problems with Danny. Oh, man, this is what Danny used to say. I love you, Joe. I love you, Joe. Some vinyl pressings are poor now. That's true. A lot of new vinyl. You play it. I mean, I bought new vinyl when this snap, crackles, and pops right, even when you clean it right out of the package. And sometimes, you buy new vinyl and it's warped and wavy. That happened a lot. I don't even buy that much brand new vinyl. I don't really buy that much. And even when I did, I noticed it. There's some waviness. The early half-hour Gunsmokes are good. How many seasons did Gunsmoke go on for? What do you think? Hello, John Alelo. What do you think about Ringo's Look Up, still number one on the British UK country charts? So that's great. I'm sure it's making him feel good, at least it got some notoriety, his new album. It's terrific. Terrific that he got the notoriety, and the album itself is terrific. And yes, I saw Tombstone as well. And yes, indeed. He's got a part in Tombstone. Any upcoming diner exertions with Anthony? We tried to get together the other day, but then the plans fell through. But we should be getting together soon. I should take my dog for a walk at the mall. Don't have a dog. I just bought the Heart Play Unfinished Dialogue John Lennon interview album from 1980. Never heard it. It's very interesting. It's very good. There's especially one good quote in there where he talks out. He lashes out at all the fans. It's the Playboy interview, really. It's the Playboy interview dialogue. Not all of it, some chosen parts. But there's a great part where he lashes out at the people who say he's being controlled by Yoko, and he tells everybody off. Although John died only a few months after that interview was done, I'm so grateful that we got his voice on audio, basically telling you where to stick it. I love it because, he's not here to defend himself. So, if you could have gone to a glitzy film premiere with all the actors there, all the glitz and the glamour, and got to chat to them after the movie, what movie would you choose? Well, probably Ben-Hur. William Wyler's Ben-Hur. Everything, I think, was good. All the actors, the music score, the direction. I'd like to meet everybody, actors and the crew. Just like baseball cards in the 90s, they have flooded the market with too much vinyl. Do you like Western movies? And if yes, what is your favorite lead actor in the movie? I mean, I don't love Westerns in and of themselves. Certain Westerns I like. I remember I liked Clint Eastwood, Unforgiven. I don't really have a favorite lead actor. It depends on the movie in question. You know what I mean? I like the movie called The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which had, I think Jimmy Stewart was in that one, right? And John Wayne, so it depends. Hi, Eric. There was a Western spoof TV show in 1982 called Best of the West. It was only on a few months, but it was funny. See the Ben-Hur remake. No way in hell. I like your excursions with Anthony. Thanks. I'm glad you like the Anthony videos. He's a good guy, and we have a lot of fun. I like to make videos about our crazy get-togethers. So most of them. of fun. Have you ever been to the Universal movie tours? I don't know if it really counts, but I went to Orlando, Universal Studios Orlando. That doesn't forget me saying I don't know if it counts. It doesn't count. The Universal Hollywood one is probably the real one. Okay, Modern Retro Radio says, I'm a huge fan of McCartney's solo albums. That's good. I think he sometimes chose the wrong songs as lead-off singles. Do you agree? At times, I think Paul doesn't really know. He's not the best judge of his own music. Sometimes I think there could have been better singles, yeah. Or, like I don't think it was a wise move. Like when Goodnight Tonight, 1979, was out, Paul wanted to leave that as a single and didn't want to put it on the Back to the Egg album. I think it goes that the record company wanted it on there, but Paul didn't want it on there or something, if I'm not mistaken. Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney Jr. or Bela Lugosi, who was the best? Well, I got to go with Boris Karloff, even though Chaney Jr. and Bela Lugosi are right there, a hair underneath. When you come to Karloff and Lugosi, if you're a horror movie fan, you're kind of viewing them as Lennon and McCartney, like you're pitting them against each other. Who's better and all this, I kind of think Karloff was more McCartney and Lugosi was more Lennon. I don't agree with this. I'm sorry. I think Hope of Deliverance was a great choice. I think Hope of Deliverance was the perfect choice for a single out of the Off the Ground album. And Mistress and Maid is not one of my favorite songs. I don't like The Lovers That Never Were either. Overall, I'm not really that big of a fan of the Elvis Costello and Paul McCartney get-together songs. I think My Brave Faces is okay. And also, we did a song together called Back on My Feet, which I like very much. But anyway, I thought Hope of Deliverance was a great single. And it didn't work out, though, did it? We don't know what Mistress and Maid would have done. I don't think Mistress and Maid is very good single material for single. I saw The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly only once, and I thought it was overrated, but that was 20 years ago or something. So, have you ever tried to learn a musical? Where is this? Have you ever tried to learn a musical instrument? The only thing I do play a musical instrument. I play a little bass, so that's my instrument, a little bass, and here it is, right here. It hasn't made its appearance in a while, but there it is. Let's see. All the CD single B-sides were better than most of Off the Ground. Well, you got to understand something. Off the Ground gets a bad rap. I think it's an underrated album. I think it's pretty good. But I do agree with you that the B-sides were some of them better. It was better than some of the tracks on the album. I will say that. And there's a good example again of McCartney perhaps not knowing what his best choices are to put on, but it's all subjective. It's all subjective. The song Veronica, I like that song. Yes, I do. Can you get Anthony to help you film so you're sharing the camera with Mikey Arugula? Or do you prefer to be a producer? When it comes to my videos with Mikey Arugula, Mikey often wants me to join him in the video, and I don't really want to do that. I figure it's his spotlight, and I also figure if for any reason I don't have my videos of Mikey Arugula on my channel one day, if for any reason I decide not to have them anymore, that way he can take them and he can use them on his channel, or he doesn't have a channel, I don't think, but I mean he could use them himself without me in them. But I'm perfectly happy to just produce them, so to speak, or direct them, edit them. Paul McCartney performed alongside of Taylor Swift on one of her songs. I thought I was hallucinating when I saw it. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I hope Paul's New York concerts will be released. I hope. I don't know about all of them being released. You're talking about the ones that he did at the Bowery Ballroom. I think that just to have one, I hope they're going to try to do something for it. take all the shows and edit enough songs together, the best performances of different songs. Do you think Paul's next album will be one of his best because he's working on it for a while? There's no way to know that. There's no way to know. I have no guesses, John. I really don't. How about Ben-Hur starring Don? Instead of chariots, there would be shopping cart race pulled by ponies. I like that idea. Wonder if Don would go for it. I love the original Universal Mummy movie. I love when they bury Karloff alive. The look in his eyes is wild. Yeah. The only scenes I really like out of the original Mummy are the flashback scenes like you're talking about when he gets convicted of his crime and he gets sentenced to be wrapped alive and buried alive as a mummy, and his eyes are like bulging out of his head when he's getting wrapped. And also the beginning scene, of course, it's still one of the scariest scenes in horror movies. The first 10 minutes of The Mummy from 1932 are really good, and then so is the flashback sequence. The rest of it's kind of dull to me. I'm a guy that loves old movies. I'm a guy that loves Karloff. I'm a guy that loves the old monster characters, Universal horrors, and even I say the original Mummy's kind of dull. Can you imagine Stan Laurel trying to get the comedy section where he kicks the woman on the steps after she punches him, and it was filmed today? Then she smashes a bottle of milk over Ollie's head. Yeah. I love to see Don in your record store videos. He's still my favorite. I'm glad that people still like seeing Little Don. He's a fan favorite. The only thing that sucks about it lately, Don's obviously he's 72 years old now. He's not feeling as good as he did like 5-10 years ago. And when I watch old videos, I can sense that he had more energy and he was more alive. And in fact, you can't really make out what he's saying when you watch the videos these days. You can't really understand what Don's saying. I suggest do your best with putting on closed captions from YouTube if you want to understand them. Curious to hear Temporary Secretary from the recent New York City gig. I got to see Paul do Temporary Secretary live in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium. And I got to tell you, I like the song Temporary Secretary, but I didn't think it translated very well to a live situation. I don't know if it was better at the Bowery Ballroom. Maybe we'll be able to hear it. If Karloff was McCartney and Lugosi was Lennon, would Lon Chaney Jr. be Harrison? Yeah, I think so. I know you're going to ask who's Ringo next. We'll let, I don't know. I don't know who's next. We'll let Peter Lorre or somebody be Ringo. What was your evaluation of McCartney 3? I don't remember. I really, really liked and still like McCartney 3 right now. Believe it or not, it's my favorite of his 3 McCartney albums, 1, 2, 3. Yes, his voice isn't good. Yes, his voice is old and haggard. But the thing is, he's starting to write songs, new songs, that I believe suit his vocal range. So if you're willing to take a chance and be invested and give it a shot for what it is rather than what it's not, I think you'll find out that it's not bad. The thing is, when he goes live and he tries to sing songs like Golden Slumbers, and he's trying to do old Beatles songs from when he was in his 20s, that's a little tough, I think. But I think when he writes new songs for his new album, I think it's in his proper range. Yes, I heard about this album. I own this album. It's an interview album, Beatle Talk, the way they were in '64 with Red Robinson. Yeah, it actually, well, you say it doesn't seem too common. I don't know. Personally, I guess it's not that common. If you're a casual fan, it's not that common. But if you're a diehard collector, Beatle Talk, that Red Robinson album, is one of the easier to obtain bootlegs, I think. I mean, I first heard about it in I think 1980, 81. And I got it. I got a hold of it. I've seen it around a lot. This is interesting. If you ever want to host a music special on my web radio station, Modern Retro Radio, the invitation is out there. It's BMI licensed. so you can play whatever you'd want. I don't know. Do you think that'd work? Anybody out there think I'd make a decent DJ? I don't know. A lot of people say, you do well, Joe. But I know, like right now, my throat's my throat is always dry in this room and most of this house. You know what it is? It's winter time, and we got the heat on, and the heat dries out your throat. Thanks for the invite, Modern Retro Radio. Exactly. Don should not bite the hand that feeds, and quite often he does. I mean, we try to help Don, but even in the video that I just put up, you can tell him, you can hear him tell me to mind my own bleeping business. He just gets his moods, and that's part of his character, and it's okay. We love him anyway. I just bought the February 74 issue of Cream with Elton John on the cover. They do a piece on John and the Mind Games album. Cool. What's the highest you've ever been building, not drugs, and were you scared? Well, I guess the World Trade Center. The World Trade Center. I went to the top of the World Trade Center, and that's probably the highest I ever was on a building, and not scared at all. Yeah, I know. I as I was saying it, I was thinking that you need a room humidifier. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Yes, you're right. You're so right about that. A lot of people have told me that. Rick's, a lot of people. Do I listen? No. But you're right. I appreciate that, and you're right. Joe, you're a good time killer. I always kill time by watching you and your videos. Hey, nothing better than being able to help you guys kill your time. I like that. I look for videos and things to kill my time as well. So it's a trade, from people. So. Okay, what's going on, folks? We're doing well here. People watching and commenting. Have you gotten any Beatles books or magazines? I got a few little magazines, old 60s magazines recently. I'm trying to cut down with the magazines. Again, I got to tell you, it really does go in fluctuations. Sometimes I'm into something and I start collecting again. Like, I'll just show you, if I can reach this, I'll show you. Like, I've been talking lately that I was getting back into comic books again, and I started buying a few. These are very cheap. They're not expensive. I'm not buying expensive comics. But then I started getting disinterested in comic books again already. It was a fad for a little while. And that's just the way it is with me, And that's who I am. I embrace it. And I'm realizing, who am I first and foremost? I am first and foremost a Beatles collector and a Beatles fan, solo Beatles fan and collector too. And that's what I mainly am. Don't put the humidifier on your records. It will cause mold and warpage. Done. Thank you, Robbie. Done. Not going to happen. I was listening to Flowers in the Dirt earlier. It's in my top 5 favorite Paul solo records. Sorry to disagree. I'm glad you like it. I always say, I like some songs on that album. Off the top of my head, Figure of 8, My Brave Face, Rough Ride, We Got Married, Put It There, and this one. I think this one is the best track on it. That's 6 songs. But for the most part, I think it's a mediocre album other than those. But it was a comeback album of Paul of sorts, because, he hadn't been doing as well. Yeah, I think Beatle talk is probably common, but sometimes I haven't researched the underground Beatle album, so it doesn't strike as an official licensed album sometimes, but it is. Yeah, I think it is really. I kept calling it a bootleg. It is. I think it is like somehow a licensed thing. I think I can see the back cover in my mind, that it has like a symbol of some kind of, I don't know, recording place or studio or something. Let's see. Is there anything on the shelves behind you that you don't know you have, or do you know exactly everything in that room? I pretty much know what I have here. Sure. Any dogs at the mall today? No. Oh, no, I was there today. No dogs at the mall. I would love to find footage of Ken Scott engineering the White Album. Well, sure. You could be good on radio, commenting on songs and Beatles stories. Well, I always wanted to do my own Beatles radio show if possible. Just playing not just the Beatles but the solo Beatles and educating people on some of the solo stuff who might not know. By the way, it's a good time to plug my other channel. There's another channel on YouTube called Talk More Talks. A lot of you already know about this. Check it out. Talk More Talk on YouTube. It's a solo Beatles video cast where I talk about solo Beatles stuff along with my co-hosts. We now have Kid O'Toole. We have Ken Michaels and our newest member, Darren DeVivo. So it's over there on Talk More Talk. Please check it out. And it's not just solo, but although it's 90% solo, sometimes we talk about the Beatles, like when something new comes out, like a box set or something. So there you go. There you go. Hello, Raymond. Buying them comics. Do you sit with a drink and read them cover to cover? I buy them immediately, shelve them. Well, I haven't read these. There's lots of stuff to read. That's the thing I always wind up saying every once in a while. Do you know how many books I have to read, movies I have to watch, records and CDs I have to listen to, videos I have to make, other people's videos here on YouTube I want to watch? Forget it. Forget it. Okay, the songs I like are almost half the album. The problem with Flowers in the Dirt to me is a lot of songs are dirgy. I call it Flowers in the Dirge. That song We Got Married is kind of like that too, but I've come to really love that song. When the album first came out in 1989, and when I saw Paul in concert in Madison Square Garden in 1989, I really thought that that song We Got Married was the perfect let's go to the bathroom song. Well, but I really like that song a lot now. So there you go. Let's see. How do you like those EMI Odeon vinyl issues of the Beatles? Very good sounding. What's your favorite Guns N' Roses song? Used to love her. I used to love her. Sweet Child of Mine. Poor dogs get the blame, but it's the owners who are at fault. Yeah. Well, yes and no. Like I say, that's a big sometimes it's the owner's fault. Sometimes it's the dogs. There's such a thing as bad dogs too. I know people say there's no bad dogs, only bad owners, but I don't agree with that. But sometimes you're right. Sometimes I think it is the owner's fault. My wife is shopping. I'm sitting in the car. This is only my second time watching you on the phone. Well, enjoy it for what it's worth. Enjoy it while you can. Glad to be able to help you pass the time. I'm always looking for things to pass the time when I'm in a situation like that. Sad to think that some of the White Albums with the numbers on the front don't exist anymore. They don't exist anymore? I wish that Elvis fans and collectors got along like Beatles fans. I didn't know that, Robbie. So you're saying that Elvis fans don't often get along? Sometimes Beatles fans don't get along either, I guess. Okay, just took out the Ken Womack book, Living the Beatles Legend. Have you read it? Is that, I don't know, is that one of the George Martin books? I don't think so. I don't know if, I forget the names of the George Martin ones that he did. Is the, quote, limited edition description for something now just a selling ploy? I think sometimes it's just a selling ploy, and sometimes it's not. I think sometimes it's legit. Sometimes it can be legit, right? That something is indeed a limited edition. Other times it's not limited at all, but they're just telling you that to get you to buy it. You should see Wolfman. It's based on the 1941 Wolfman. Everything that I've seen and heard about it, Harold, with all due respect to you, has nothing to do with the original Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. And I'm glad, actually. Um, okay. We missed Talk More Talk. Glad it's back. Thank you. We're trying to get another show going. Trying to get everybody together so that we can record another show, and we're going to do that. But we're working on it right now. I was referring to the sound quality. Okay. Hello, James. What's your opinion on With the Beatles? I listened to that this morning. Masterpiece. It's one of my very favorite albums by the Beatles. Sometimes when people ask me what's your favorite UK album, I sometimes say With the Beatles, because I like that period. I like 1963 when the Beatles were still like hungry and really into it and really, wild and singing their hearts out. I love that album. It's a great album. It's Beatlemania, that album. Have you ever rang for the police? I don't think so. How about bringing dogs into restaurants? Well, that's a big no. Yeah, that's about all I could do is imagine having Ringo's White Album that's number one. That's about all I could do. You didn't mention Tom. Is he on Talk More Talk anymore? No, Tom is not. And I thought this was pretty well-known old news. People keep asking me, and this is what happens when somebody leaves. Somewhere around November, one of our last shows of 2024, after the show, Tom Hunyadi informed us that he wants to spend his time doing other things, particularly on his other show, Two Legs, and he's busy, he's working, and he's trying to do a lot of stuff, and he just didn't have the time really to devote to Talk More Talk. There were no hard feelings or anything like that. It was just his decision, and he's a good friend. I consider him a good friend and collaborator, and he's on my movie channel. We do a movie show every now and then, so wish him well. And it's just that he's not doing Talk More Talk anymore. He felt he wanted to do other things and didn't have the time just to devote to that. Okay. Never like dogs. I hear you when a dog tries to attack you for no reason. Oh, shit. All right. Guilty as charged. Some people are going to have a field day with this. See, the thing is, I always forget. It's a book on Ken Womack's book on Mal Evans, which I did read. There's some people who think that I didn't read it. I read it. I read it late, but I read it. Anyway, I didn't realize when you said Living the Beatles Legend, I didn't realize. If you had said Ken Womack's Mal Evans book, then I would have known it. That's fair. I don't have a lucky number. It's funny. A lot of people have a lucky number. Don't have one. Sorry to be boring with some of these answers, but yeah, I know Ed of the King's Court. Like, I forget how he says it. Doesn't he have a certain way he says it? Limited edition, something like that. I think he has a way of saying that. I have a good example about that limited question. In the case of the Beatles and Mono box set, Optimal, the German pressing plant, pressed 100,000 sets in one continuous production run for weeks. That's it. Are you missing work at all? Not in the slightest. I've said this many times before. I have a lot of slogans that I say, a lot of sayings. One of them is, work is an interruption of my life. Now, having said that, I do believe in working. When you have to work, if you have to work and you have to pay your bills, which we all do, then I believe in work. I believe in it. I don't love it, but my thing was, when I was working, just do your 40-hour week and that's it. The rest is for you. That's how I feel about it. Do you like Bruce Willis's movies? If yes, what's your favorite one? Well, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of his work. I haven't seen Judge Dredd. I never saw. I think that's Bruce. No, The Fifth Element. Fifth Element. I never saw The Fifth Element. I don't watch the Die Hard movies. So, I mean, I like Bruce Willis, and I liked him in Pulp Fiction. And you know what I really like Bruce Willis in a movie called Death Becomes Her, which is a comedy, and he plays a kind of a nerdy character, plays very much against type. You know, instead of playing a cool, tough hero, he plays a little geeky guy in Death Becomes Her. That's my favorite. That's my favorite Bruce Willis part, along with Pulp Fiction. Hello, Gary. Sorry. I believe that Tom started Talk More Talk. I think he started it along with Ken Michaels. I think it was Tom's basic idea, but then he and Ken Michaels started it. I think. I see Vivian is here, but I don't know what she was trying to write because it didn't come out. So, do you think Giles Martin will remix with the Beatles, "A Hard Day's Night," etc.? Yes, I think he will. I think we're gonna be getting those. I do think eventually. I don't know when, but eventually, I believe it. What Beatles line in a song has always resonated with you and is a line you always refer back to? Uh, Lovers and friends, I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all. That's one. And also, a man must break his back to earn his day of leisure. Leisure. So there we go. There was a Lennon quote. I think you mean Leno. Lennon quote On, with the Beatles being the spirit of the early Beatles. Well, that's how I feel about it. That's for sure. There you go. Do you think that McCartney introducing a 9 to 5 schedule for the get back period of their career was a grind on the other three? Yeah, well, Paul McCartney was and still is. Look at him. Look at him just now at the 3 nights in the Bowery and then doing Saturday Night Live, the 50th. I mean, he's a workaholic. He was a workaholic then. He's still a workaholic now. And thankfully so for us. Look at all the great music we've gotten over the decades. And Ringo himself said, Paul is the workaholic. If it wasn't for Paul, we might only had 2 or 3 albums. Paul was the one that always said, "Come on, guys, time to get back in the studio," and stuff like that. And same thing with the Get Back. By the time they got to Get Back, the other three Beatles were kind of like could take it or leave it. I think Paul was the one that got them more motivated. The last issue from Yoko, sorry, the last reissue from Yoko was in 2019 with the release of the Wedding album. I asked my co-pilot when the final batch will be out. It said that the last 4 will be released July 14th. Well, that's good. Thanks for the heads up on that. Pulp Fiction, definitely one of Bruce Willis's best parts. Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead. Yeah. Found the concert for Bangladesh final as well, but hate how it has side 1 and side 4 together, 2 and 5. That's just how the LPs were designed, the triple double sets. Well, that's because we all know that, I think, because back then you had record players where they would stack the record. So you would stack number 1 and number 2, and then one would play, and then when it was finished, record side 2 would drop down and play. Then you'd flip both records over, and side 3 would fall, and then side 4. I mean, I had those record players in my life when I was a youth. Yeah, I remember Bruce Willis doing some of that kind of stuff, singing and stuff. The next Giles mix would be Rubber Soul, I would think. He's working his way backwards. All I know is not for sure, but Giles Martin did say a long time ago after Revolver that the next one would be Rubber Soul. He did say that, leak it out or whatever it was. And he didn't say when, but I think that's going to be the next one. Rubber Soul, whenever we get it. Hi, James. You were happy that I mentioned the movie Only the Lonely with John Candy, which I also think was his best. Yeah, Only the Lonely is a John Candy movie with Ali Sheedy, and I think it's very good. I have an old friend who retired from the post office at the end of 2020. He's still a union member and goes to meetings. Not me. Come on. Not me. Hey, if you got nothing else to do with your life and it makes you happy, go ahead. I'm not. Who am I to judge? I got all this stuff to make me happy, and with youth people, among other things. But Paul is like Keith and Mick. He just can't retire. Absolutely, I get it. Lucky for us. Which song do you like better, Real Love or Now and Then? I like Now and Then the best of the songs. They go backwards for me. Now and Then is my favorite. Real Love is my second favorite. Free as a Bird is my least favorite. And of course, as some people know, Danny Harrison pretty much said that there's going to be a remix and they're going to try to redo Free as a Bird and Real Love to kind of get John's voice much more to the front, which was not possible back when they did those in 94, 95. 96. But they're able to do it more now. So there you go. And George especially was ready to move on. I agree. I have one hand clapping, but on vinyl, I think, but I don't have the backyard session. Yoko just had a birthday on February 18th. She turned 92. 92. I take it all of the Beatles music is going to be remastered, reproduced forever, even if it all ends up butchered like the last version of I Am the Walrus. Stuff taken out, volume remix, etc. Yeah, but I mean, see, the thing that some people might not understand is that some of the Beatles songs arguably didn't need to be remixed. Like a lot of people felt, and I'm inclined to agree, we didn't really need anything to be changed for, say, Abbey Road. Okay? But the early albums, Please Please Me, With the Beatles, A Hard Day's Night, Beatles for Sale, Help, and Rubber Soul, those albums all need some work. I really believe that. I know that seems like blasphemy in a way because they endured for 60 years and we're all happy. We're all fans, right? They're good. George Martin was a genius. But having said that, there is some problem with the fact that I don't think Ringo's drums were not brought up enough. Ringo's drums were always muted, too far back. I was recently, just by total coincidence again, playing the Red album, 62 to 66, and the new version from 2023 that Giles worked on. And although I'm sometimes rather hard on Giles Martin, I sometimes don't like everything he did, and the way I always say it is, I think Giles Martin is 50-50. I like him half the time, and half the other time I don't. But I loved what he did for the most part with the Red and the Blue albums. I was very disappointed in the Red album with She Loves You. She Loves You, my favorite Beatles song. It was a terrible job on that. Really lost opportunity. But the rest of it did what I said. It has the guitars a little more up at times. Ringo's drums especially up 8 days a week as a triumph. Right now, I feel like the song 8 Days a Week is the best example of Ringo's drums coming to the fore. Really good job with his drums on that. So anyway, my point is, as great as George Martin was, we could use the early albums remastered these days, remixed, I should say. I'm sorry, you got to be careful. I always slip up on that. Remixed. They need to be remixed. They already remixed most of the Rubber Soul songs for the Red album, so a box set could easily be done. Maybe they're working on a book. Those were the lo-fi turntables Joe described. Yeah, I still own one of the. Yeah, etc., etc. Yeah, you're right about that. Several years ago, Ringo mentioned that they were researching an Apple box set for his early albums. What's your opinion on the topic? I really want Ringo to get with it. I mean, I don't know if it's Ringo or the record company or both, but I really would like to see Ringo's albums revisited. I would like to see the 1973 classic Ringo album, self-titled, to get a special release. They missed the anniversary. The anniversary was a couple of years ago, but even if better late than never, I'd like them to really give that a good. It doesn't have to be a big box, but it could be 2 or 3 discs, 2 or 3 CDs. And I would love to see some albums get on vinyl that have never been on. Notably, Vertical Man's never been on vinyl. Choose Love, Ringo Rama, Liverpool 8. Certain albums have never gotten a vinyl release from Ringo. Have you converted all your stuff and backed it up to MP3 and MP4? No, I have not, but I really am. I have that in my to-do pile. There you go. There's turntable information. My dad just had his 92nd birthday in January. Happy birthday to your dad there. Right. I finally got one of my grails today, which is a German import copy of Badfinger's Straight Up in absolute mint condition. I'm above elated about it. Good for you, Alan. Very nice. I heard the remixed I'm the Walrus while driving today. The remixed ending is annoying. Yeah, the ending they really botched the ending, and I hate the ending of the remix of the new I Am the Walrus. Ringo also covered his drum skins with towels. That was not for all he recorded, but some of it. His drums weren't not loud except for the cymbals. Probably not mic'd well in the early 60s. Whatever, that's probably true, but nevertheless, listen to what's done with the drums, if you haven't heard already, on some of the early songs on the new Red album release. That's the choice, isn't it? But someone will always come along and remix everything every 10 years or so. A Beatles rehash will always be on the cards while someone has the tapes to tinker and mess with. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes I say leave it alone, leave things the way they are. I still think, like I said, the early Beatles stuff has to be redone. And then after that, maybe leave it alone for a long time. But then again, what we really want is for the Beatles to last forever, and they do, pretty much. New generations keep finding the Beatles, right? All right. What's your favorite Yoko album from the 70s? I think the album Fly is my favorite one. Hello, Cherry Carter. I saw a little box set of Ringo 45s. Good Night, Vienna. Also, a little poster of the Capitol building. Yeah, that was a record store day release. I'm going to say it was around 2012, 2013, something like that. A long time ago now. Okay. George Martin produced the album. He wasn't the mastering engineer, was he? I don't know. Well, there's other engineers. I mean, Jeff Emmerich and Norman Smith and all. I mean, I'm just wondering. I don't know. I just think I think it is George Martin. Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. There's not much to say about Jimi Hendrix. I mean, he was a great guitarist. I like Jimi Hendrix. The album, the first album, Are You Experienced? I have it. I love every song on that, even the songs that are not well known. And there's a few others, and he died too young, and there's not much really to say about him. But I like Jimmy. Yeah, Ken Scott. Ken Scott did a superb job recording "I Am the Walrus." There was no need to remix it. Yeah. What do you think is the worst solo album out of all four Beatles? Let's see. Well, it depends. Are we going to talk about their original albums? Like, am I going to cheat and say albums like of covers? Like for Paul, am I going to say like the Russian album of oldies, which I think is his least album of all? Or am I going to say Kisses on the Bottom, which is all like American standards? Or do you just tell me original albums? Let's just do original albums. Because it's too easy. For John, I could say the rock and roll album. But all right, for John, I'm gonna say I don't want to say worst, okay? Although most people would say Sometime in New York City is John's worst album, I don't agree. And I hope that one day it gets reissued and the right kind of rediscovery comes along. I think it was really a brave album, and I think he's in good voice on there. And I think it's underrated, but it's one. Sometime in New York City is definitely one of John's least albums, no doubt about it. If I'm listing them, it's one of the least. But for me, the least John Lennon album of original material is Milk and Honey. And the only reason I say Milk and Honey is because John wasn't around to really finalize it. You know, it wasn't finished. The songs were not finished. That's the only reason I say that. Okay, then for Paul, I still think out of his original, this is her original albums, not cover albums, not rock and roll oldies, not American standards, not there's classical music. I'm not counting those either. I'm not counting the classical music. I'm not counting the experimental albums like The Fireman. I still go with Driving Rain as Paul's least album of his own original material. That's, but I like Driving Rain more than I did before. And then George, I'm going to go with Extra Texture or Gon Troppo as his least. I'm going to go with Gon Troppo. I think Gon Troppo, I know it gets a bad rap. A lot of people hate that when people pick on Gon Troppo. That's my least George album right now, as of this date. And Ringo, my least favorite album by him is Old Wave. Well, there you go. If you happen to be in India being friends with the Beatles, but you fell ill because of the food, will you come home? Oh, I don't know. I probably would go home, Beatles or no Beatles, if I was that ill. Probably. Okay. Beatles 2014 mono albums, the last time the original tapes will be used. They use a safety copy for everything else forward. Electric Ladyland is a really good as well. And you got Axis Bold as Love, is it? That's not bad. Jimi Hendrix we're talking about. Do you like to have all the Beatles albums on Apple or no? I don't go crazy with the labels too much. You know what I mean? If it was originally on Apple, then yes, I want it on Apple. Sometime in New York City will always get shadowed because of the opening track on it, unfortunately. These days, the opening track is misunderstood. Probably misunderstood back then, too. Doesn't mean what people think it means, but let's see. My first Yoko album was Fly. I got it because I saw John and Yoko on the Mike Douglas show where they played a video for Mrs. Lennon, a haunting song. It really is a haunting song and quite good. Mrs. Lennon by Yoko. I hope that you and Matthew Street do more crossovers. The recent episode with you and Matthew Street was excellent. Yeah, I always enjoy having Matt on my Fab Gab show. Check that out. We did a show, Fab Gab. And all you got to do is go into the playlists on my channel. Hit playlists, look up Fab Gab, and Matthew Street is on the new one. We talk about Paul's voice. State of Paul's voice. Hey, look at this. We got Daniel here. Hello, Daniel. It's funny because I was just thinking of you yesterday. There I go again. With my ESP. I have ESP. I always know when somebody's going to come back. I'm thinking of something or I'm thinking of somebody and they come back. I just happened to be wondering about you yesterday. Where is the guy? I haven't heard from him in a while. There you are. Boom. But if I try to think of 6 lottery numbers that win, you think I can think of 6 winning lotto numbers? No. My thoughts on Blood on the Tracks are that I'm ashamed of myself because I like Dylan quite a bit. I'm familiar with a lot of his albums, but even though Blood on the Tracks is one of his classic albums from 1974, I only know like a couple of songs off it. I'm really lacking when it comes to that album. Mm. Well, you see, this is the thing. The worst John. I'm not going to pick two virgins, because it's too easy. You know what I mean? If I was going to pick John's worst album, I'd pick two virgins. Okay, but I'm not going to count that because it's not a regular singing album. There you go. Okay. Yeah, Dan used to be on the when I used to do the Mayo Lounge. Used to pop up once in a while. I no longer do the Mayo Lounge. Will it return? I think it will at some point. It probably will, knowing me. But right now, I'm just into doing my own thing like this and dedicated specific topics like Beatles shows and things like that. Did you used to make model kits when you were younger, gluing small parts together? Sure, absolutely. Horror figures. I don't still have any of them. There's one up there you can barely see. Right at the top of my finger here. It's orange shirt. I didn't put that together. Somebody else did. It's Cornelius from Planet of the Apes. But yeah, I used to love doing that when I was a kid. I put all those old models together: the Frankenstein, Dracula, the Mummy, King Kong, Godzilla, Phantom of the Opera, Hunchback, on and on and on and on and on. A Wolfman. I put them all together, and that was the classic Aurora monster kits. Have you ever tried cleaning a record cover label or vinyl itself and completely wrecked it? I wouldn't say I completely wrecked it, but I did have a problem. I have a video up about it. I think I have a video. I don't know the exact title. I think it's called "How to Not Clean a Record Cover." And look at that up. I agree with you. I think Sometime in New York City rocks as well. No matter how many people tell Paul to retire, he's going nowhere. He will die on that stage. Well, I hope it doesn't literally happen that way. I mean, my girlfriend always says that too. My girlfriend says, Paul is so dedicated to performing, he's going to die on stage, literally. And I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, I hope he doesn't. I hope he stops before that happens. I never want to see that happen. Wedding album is the best of the three. Well, I guess if I had to pick which one's the best of either Two Virgins, Life with the Lions, or Wedding Album, I might grit my teeth and grudgingly say, I guess the Wedding Album's the best. But it's not easy. Okay. How about you doing a show with Frank, a.k.a. Mr. Stickermania, sometime? Frank is a great guy, Mr. Stickermania. I love the guy. I met him at the fest in Chicago. I hope to see him again at the New Jersey fest. And he's going to be on tonight, I believe. But anyway, we did do one show with him. If you look in my, I think it's Fab Gab. Look at Fab Gab, and you'll see a show with Mr. Stickermania. I'm not familiar enough with Iron Maiden. I notice got a little contribution here from Daniel. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Dan. Means a lot. And I'm going to say, if anybody wants to help out, I'd appreciate it. It's not never required, but it's always appreciated to help me along here. So thank you very much. What are your thoughts on Sean's managing of the Lennon estate? I look very forward toward his love, respect, and reverence to his dad's legacy. Well, the thing is, I think that Sean overall has done a pretty terrific job. The only thing that I've gone on record about as not caring for, and Sean knows this, is that I'm not crazy about his own personal feeling that he's not wild, it seems, about the saxophones in his dad's music, and often takes the liberty of removing them or undercutting them. And so far, that's been his choice. And I don't know how far it's going to go. When the album Walls and Bridges comes out, and when Sean helps work on it, I really hope that on the song Steel and Glass in particular, he leaves it the way it was, because I love those horns on that song. And he took them off during the Gimme Some Truth compilation, which I commented on. But other than that, I think he's doing a good service to his dad overall. There were a lot of really good songs on Hendrix's first Rays of the Rising Sun. Yeah, I'm always amazed at how many posthumous albums there are by Jimi Hendrix. So many albums after he died. Danny's doing fine. I talk to him pretty regularly. I miss Danny. Fact. Yeah, I could understand that. I miss him being on the shows as well. And maybe we'll do something together one day. Again, I'm sure we will. So just hang in there. How many kids did Macca have, and what are they all doing now? Well, he and Linda, their kids are Mary and Stella and James, right? And then McCartney with Heather Mills had Beatrice, and of course Linda had Heather before she married Paul. Some of the reissues are overpackaged, and I heard that the Mind Games reissue didn't sound great. I like the sound of the Mind Games, what they did, except for the horns missing on one track. I think it was One Day at a Time. Hello, Chris. Say, did the Beatles ever make a recording of Bad to Me? They never did a recording of Bad to Me. It's a shame because I like that song. But there is a demo, a pretty good demo of John singing it, a demo tape. Danny will be back here. Fact. Would you like to buy a handy housewife helper? Can it core a apple? Yes, it can core a apple. Exactly. Oh crap! If Sean messes with the horns on whatever gets you through the night. What with the song "Whatever Gets You Through the Night"? What I did like about that on the "Give Me Some Truth" edition was he brought John's voice up a little bit more, because it used to be mostly Elton. I heard mostly Elton and John seemed a little under in the original mix, and now you hear more of John, I think. Well, let's hope I hope he doesn't do too much of that. Hope he doesn't do too much of that. So none of the Macca kids are tinkering with Paul's music? Not yet. When the day comes that Paul's no longer with us, I wonder what's going to happen after that. I don't know why Bad to Me was not on the anthology. It's a shame that the Harrison estate messes things up. This wallet can't keep from crying. I will listen to my original UK Lennon solo records, thanks. I think Sean seems to be taking too much artistic license of his own with his dad's music. That's not right to me. I mean, you can get into the routine where you can say, well, like John never liked his own voice. John liked to cover his voice, bury his voice, liked to make it sound echoey and, do things to it. So that's the way John wanted it. So you could say, well, it's not right for Sean to take liberties and, make his dad's voice more clear and upfront. You see, there's two ways you can look at it. What sounds better audibly to the ear? Maybe that's subjective, what you think sounds better, but I'd rather hear John, if I can, more clearer. But I realize at the same time, John didn't want that in a way. So it's a slippery slope, Try to be fair about it. But I kind of I like what I'm hearing. I love some of the things that were done on Give Me Some Truth. I loved it. I love Stand By Me was improved. Angel Baby was improved greatly. You could hear John's voice now. That's great. Yes, I've been to a midnight show before. I've seen movies at midnight. The last time I did it was actually not too long ago. Well, not too long ago. Let's say 12 years ago or something. 13 years, long enough. Last time was Kill Bill and Kill Bill Volume 2 together on the big screen at midnight. Stella and Mary are class acts like their dad. Regarding Paul's appearance on Saturday Night Live, I wonder what his band tells him about his singing. They probably say absolutely nothing. I'm guessing. Yes, I do have a bootleg that has a lot of versions of whatever gets you through the night on it. It's very different, very different arrangements. It's interesting to me though because the arrangements are different. You know, I don't mean just changing the mix, but removing horns on one day at a time. Yeah, of course not. And here's Clown Fist. What's up? Without a shadow of a doubt, AI will reinvent all the old Beatles releases, like it or not. Well, I won't like it. Let's put it that way. Have you heard the underdubbed version of Band on the Run? If so, your thoughts. I was underwhelmed by the underdubbed mixes. Some of the songs didn't do it for me at all. I remember Let Me Roll It. I really liked Let Me Roll It. And I remember the song Band on the Run itself, the title track. There were some differences that I liked in that. But most of them to me didn't sound that different. Now, it's been a while since I heard that. But you can look at my video if you want to look it up. You know, type it in or something. Mr. Mayo, Mr. Mayo, Band on the Run underdubbed, and I talk about it more, give more specific thoughts on the tracks. But it's been a while since I heard them, so I remember liking Let Me Roll It. I remember Band on the Run, the title track. I liked some of the things going on in that. But I'm trying to remember what else I thought about it. That's the only thing that stands out. What are your thoughts about Paul's song, The End of the End, from Memory Almost Full? I love that song. The End of the End, from Memory Almost Full, is a wonderful, deep-reaching, heartfelt song from Paul about what how he'd like it to be when the day comes that he dies. He actually talks about his death. And, when he sang that, he was, 65? Something like that, and we don't know when the end of the end is going to be, thankfully. But I think it's a beautiful song, and I agree with the song too. I happen to be of the same belief. He basically says, and this is all a matter of opinion. We all have our own beliefs. When he says, "At the end of the end, it's the start of a journey to a much better place," and this wasn't bad. So a much better place would have to be special. No need to feel sad. No need to cry. A reason to cry. That's the basic theme of it. And I kind of agree with that. It's kind of a hopeful thing, too. Anyway, I've bought a Complete Unknown, the soundtrack, on vinyl, and listening to it, I wonder what the hell I'm doing when I could put on an actual Dylan album. Yeah, that's a good point. Let's see. I would imagine Paul has asked Abe to pick up some of the slack by singing underneath him lately, but not a chance the band says anything to him. Right? No, obviously that's definitely what they're doing. Abe does sing along with Paul to try to help out, and the whole band helps out. So they're aware of it and they help. But I mean, I don't think they sit there. I would be very surprised if they sit there and decree what should be and we should do this. I don't think they do that. You know who AB Munster is? Antony. I still think you should change your name to Antony Munster, but that's me. Just watch Paul's performance on Saturday Night Live. Not too bad for a man his age. So Anthony likes it, thinks it's pretty good. I gotta say, even though when the Saturday Night Live performance first came out, I did a video on it. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's only a few videos back, and I gotta say, it got a hell of a response. I think it got 18. Last time I checked, there's like 18,000 views on it, and there's mixed feelings on that. I definitely think it was below par. I've heard Paul sing better for a man his age, and I think this was one of the lesser ones. I think he's sung worse. I think his worst performances were, from my memory, number one is Maybe I'm Amazed 10 years ago when he did Saturday Night Live for the 40th anniversary. That's the worst. His voice was really bad in that. And I think when he did during lockdown when he did Lady Madonna. I think that was very rough. And I think the other one was when he did Oh Darling with Chrissy Hynde. I forget what venue that was. That was rough. I don't, now looking back on it, I don't think Saturday Night Live for the 50th the other night, Golden Slumbers, I don't think that was as bad as those. But that's how I say, I try to be fair. Anybody watching this now that objects to me talking about this topic, please understand. I have a channel. I try to be fair. Now, I was just fair, and I'm going to hold this up. Paul, as recent as 2022, did the Glastonbury show. There it is. Worthy Farm, Somerset, 25th of June, 2022. He was 80 years old, not 82, 80, and he did pretty well here. He did well. I generally liked what he did here. So please, a lot of these people think, oh, this guy's just bashing Paul. Look, I don't have to love every single performance, okay? But yeah, so I do think that he was very weak singing on Saturday Night Live. But there's been worse and there's been better. And I love him on McCartney 3 from 2020. Would you do a 24-hour stream? Doubtful. I'm not going to say never, but Only Mama Knows and House of Wax are superb. I agree. Those are both, for those who don't know, from the Memory Almost Full album. Good album. What are your feelings about on the 4 movies that they're wanting to do about the Beatles? Every time people ask me that, I just say, well, I'm going to wait a while because I really don't know how I feel about it yet. It's a little early. I don't think the movies are going to be out till maybe 2027, maybe. So it's a little early, and I don't even know what to expect. I wish Paul would just do a show by himself with a guitar and do a simple storyteller show. Oh, that would be nice, a nice idea. Yeah, I just wonder, some of the songs, though, even the ballady ones, has a hard time with them. Thank you very much. Hit the like button. If you want to hit the dollar symbol below and you want to help out, I appreciate that too. Show, as a token of your appreciation, it's funny because, we live in a society where people tip all the time. If you like what you watch, if you like the channel, I wouldn't mind. But please don't feel it's ever necessary, because it isn't. And contrary to what some people may think, what I'm doing right this second, I hardly ever do. But once in a while, I'm going to start bringing it to the attention. Nothing wrong with that. Hello, Rome Loves Dan. Catchupping up. Hello. Paul's guitar was mixed too low on Saturday Night Live. Rusty and Brian were much louder. Yeah, I didn't like really anything about the show. I didn't like the way it sounded as musically, and the audio. It wasn't great. How about we set up a GoFundMe and get the nodules off Paul's vocal cords? I'll chip in. Very funny. But if that was actually a thing, Paul could do that himself, I'm sure. Yeah, maybe I'm amazed it's such a high registered song to sing. We see, here's the thing. This is where I'm trying to be fair about Paul's voice, because I heard him wreck that song 10 years ago. He wrecked it. It was abysmal how bad he sang that at Saturday Night Live 40th 10 years ago. But I've heard him since then, and he sings it. He has sung it better. That's what I'm saying. It depends. It depends on the show. It depends on the venue. It depends on the night. It depends on the day. It depends on how much he's performed. Now, don't forget, in Paul's defense, he did sing 3 shows at the Bowery. He did 3 shows at the Bowery, and then on Sunday he did Saturday Night Live. So and again, in Paul's defense, it was late at night. The man had to sit there all night and wait to go on 11:30 at night, the last act. At his age, at 82, almost 83, he's close to 83 now. So that wasn't helpful to his performance either. Oh, well, I definitely will be more sincere and kinder than Jerry Lewis. I'll give you that much. That much I'll give you. Kimba, hello, greetings. Are you not working for a change? Usually you're at work. I'm not familiar with this track. I got to tell you, I'm not. And I tell you, I'm not really as familiar with Approximately Infinite Universe as I should be. A lot of people like that album, and that's when I'm not as familiar with it. Imagine Paul trying to sing Coming Up Now. There's no way it could sound good, but that song is part mix related, but still a cappella. He's a man always aimed for highest standards of performance, top of the pile, ultimate musician, but he doesn't seem to feel he can't sing. I don't get that. Well, he's still doing the same. Everything you say, Cherry, I think is true. And he's always tried to strive for that perfection and the highest standard. And yet he's still pushing that, and he can't reach it as well anymore. I feel bad about that. House of Wax is excellent. It's a great vocal performance. Now, here you want to hear one of Paul McCartney's, in my opinion, best ever vocal performances, which again shows you the yin and the yang. Shows you how I can say he's bad one night and say he's great another night. On House of Wax, that's a while ago now. That's from 2007. But man, does he sing the hell out of that song. Listen to it. Glastonbury, everyone was watching through their fingers, and the more Macca played, the better he got. It was a surprising triumph. I agree. That's why I wish the people that are so quick to say, "Oh, I'm not going to listen to this guy anymore. Not going to watch his channel anymore." You can do whatever you like. I don't care. But the thing is, just try to be real about it. When I'm sitting here and I tell you he's 82 years old, true, but I didn't like what he did on Saturday Night Live. He still was better than he was at 72, 10 years ago on Saturday Night Live. And he was really good here at 80 years old at Glastonbury. He was good. So I really don't get it. I really don't get it. Hey, Beatly Tone, so good to hear from you. Please check out his channel here if you don't know Beatly Tone. He's a great guy. Nobody has to love every performance Paul does, but I've never seen so much nonsense written about Paul dropping 3 notes in a 12-minute song. Well, I think it's a lot worse than that. Honestly, that's my opinion. I don't know. There's a lot to say about it. And one thing that I missed when I made my original thing. It was Tom Frangione on Talk More Talk that made me realize the first time when Paul sings, "I will sing a lullaby," and then he's supposed to go into golden slumbers. He starts singing "Carry That Weight." Boy, you're going to carry that weight. He made a mistake. It happens. You can make a mistake at 20 years old. It don't have to be 82. I get it. But he starts singing, "Boy," and then he goes, "Golden slumbers." He realized that he was too early with that boy stuff. But there's a lot of things. I listened to, anyway, I heard it live. And, I don't know if this is true or not, but when I heard it live, it was worse than it was later on. If you watch it now on YouTube, some people say they fixed it a little bit. They kind of helped it a little. I don't know what they do to help or sweeten a performance a little bit, but if you watch the video now on YouTube, Saturday Night Live, Golden Slumbers, I also feel it's not that bad as it was. So I'm beginning to think that they fixed it a little bit. I don't know how, I don't know what trickery, but it's not quite as it was live, in my opinion. I've heard a few people say that. A few people said they seem to have fixed it up a little bit. Did I miss something here? Oh, I missed this. I'm sorry. Oh, geez. Sorry about this. I missed this. I love you, Joe. Gotta let it show. Well, I thank you. You let it show enough. Thank you. It's much appreciated, but not once was enough. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. But anyway, Beatly Tone, thank you for giving me your point of view. Please come around more often. I miss you around here. And hopefully we can do a show soon. Like come on the show. Let's see. What age did you consider old when you were younger? Well, it's all relative. When you're 10 years old, you think 20 is old. When you're 20, you think it's 40. When it's 40, you think it's 60, so on, So Ringo was at the Grand Ole Opry yesterday. That's right. He was superb at the Opry, right in his element, and as cool as ever. Yeah, Ringo performed 3 songs at the Grand Ole Opry yesterday. Yes. He performed the song Time on My Hands from his new album, Look Up, and he performed Act Naturally, and he performed With a Little Help from My Friends. Okay, the Faces used to play Maybe I'm Amazed live, and they, in their drunken stupor, couldn't pull it off either. That's true. Doesn't matter what age, you could be at any age, or maybe it's just because of drinking. It could be anything. Yeah, I agree. I think it was really much to the detriment of Paul's performance. By the way, is Beatly Tone still here? If you want to come up, let me know, Beatly Tone. I'll put you up. What else we got here? Yes, indeed. War of the Gargantuas, one of my favorite Japanese horror movies. War of the Gargantuas was on Svengoolie tonight. There were some aspects of the Saturday Night Live performance, the special that I liked. There were some aspects of it that I liked, and some things I didn't like. I like Olivia's new George Harrison garden exhibit. Joe, you're very fair. My issue is with others who demand that Paul retire. As long as he enjoyed it and people are willing to see him, he should continue. He's earned that right. Yeah, I understand that. In all fairness, I've been guilty of that in the past. In the past, I've said when I say retire, I used to say retire. I used to anyway. But whenever I would say that, I would say maybe he should retire from live performance, but keep doing studio. Save his voice, rest his voice for the studio tracks. That's what I've always said. But if he still has fun doing it, and as long as he doesn't make a total fool of himself, and as long as people like it, he's not going to stop. Okay, very good. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Olivia and Danny, I mean. Yeah, the Amoeba gig. That's another thing. There's an album out, the Amoeba gig, where he's really fantastic, Paul. And, he's 65 in that. And he's fantastic. Check it out. I love Old Siam, sir. That and Arrow Through Me are fantastic. I agree with you. I agree. I didn't mind Paul's bad performances. It shows he's human. Well, you see, would you say that? Here's what I want to know about this. Would you say the same about Frankie Valli? Everybody's seen Frankie Valli, how he's 90, I think, maybe more. He's at least 90, and he's around, he's lip syncing, and he can't even move his mouth, and he's going. He looks like lost. I think he's fallen asleep practically on stage, and they got the track playing behind him. Now, you could say the same thing. You could say, what do you want? The guy's 90. What do you expect from a man who's 90? He's 90. Give him a break. I don't know. Would you say the same thing about Frankie Valli, or is that pushing it too far? I mean, I don't know. When is it too far? I wonder. But I got to say, I keep bouncing back and forth with this, but back to Paul again real quickly. When I watch that Saturday Night Live 50th performance now, I don't think it's as bad as I did the first night live that I saw it. I don't know if I've just become accustomed to it. It's okay. I'm just happy to see the man there, because there's that too. I'm happy just to see him. Happy that he's doing it. Happy to see him on my TV. He's part of the celebration. He's part of the show, part of the anniversary. And it's great, even if he isn't the same, even if he's a little rusty, fine. I feel like that now more than I did. I think it was more of a shock to me the first time I saw it. And I don't know, as I said earlier, if the performance has been sweetened a little bit on video. The main thing is fans just like seeing Paul perform in general, or whether he's having a great show or not. not as much a factor given his age. The guy could also have retired and we never see him. Yep. Do you think Ringo will be dyeing his hair at 90? I always go by what I always say. Whatever looks good. If it looks good and somebody can pull it off, do it. If you don't think you look good and you think it doesn't look right, don't do it. I take it on a case-by-case basis. He's got enthusiasm. Beatly tone. Approximately Infinite Universe is Yoko's best and most commercial sounding album. That's what everybody says. Listen to it when you have a chance. It has a great variety of styles and lyrics. A lot of people do say that. I think Paul should have had a hot drink before going on SNL. I wonder if it's the uncut War of the Gargantuas. The green one eats people and spits out bloody, chewed clothes cut from some copies. Well, the thing about that is, and this is a totally different topic, which is why I don't mix my two channels into movies, horror movies, and Beatles. But the thing is, the original Japanese version as shot, there's no clothes spit out. In the Americanized version, it's the Americanized version that added that. Hello, John. Thank you. Saw an earlier podcast of yours about the Tater Tots Instant Caramel 45. I got one on eBay signed by Cherie Curry. Thank you, sir, for bringing the 45 to my attention. Appreciate it. Very good. You know, it's funny. I did see a copy on eBay signed by her. I met her. I got to meet Cherie Carter, I think twice. And but I didn't have, I had to sign other things, other 40, Runaways material. But maybe Paul could cut the number of songs to 90 minutes instead of 2.5-hour shows. If Macca did retire from live performance, would his band splinter off into other bands, or could they carry on as a very good Macca tribute band? Your guess is as good as mine. Did Frankie owe someone money? Looks like he's being forced to do a show in lip sync with mouth every other 10 words to the music. I don't know. It's a sad thing. I mean, can we all agree that the Frankie Valli situation is really something that should stop? Do we all agree on that? And you could say, well, the Frankie Valli's 90 and the man wants to do it, and people go to see him stand there and twitch his mouth a little bit. So what the hell? Let him keep doing it. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I don't know. You got, is it different? Is it the same principle or different? Okay. Was there one McCartney song you did not like when you heard it for the first time, but now you like the song? I'm sure there are, but I can't really think of them right now. I'm so sorry when it happens, but I know there are. Okay. Oh, come on. I hate tattoos. There's no way I'm gonna get tattoos. Yeah, Johnny Cash. I see what you're saying there. Hey, it's Kit. What's going on, Kit? Yeah, Brian Wilson. That's another example. I would say that Dress Me Up as a Robber is probably my least favorite song on the whole Tug of War album. I can listen to it. It doesn't bother me. But it's it's not in league with the rest of the material on there, in my opinion. Ah, man. Ah, well, I'm on here a long time. An hour and 45 minutes. This is longer than I usually do by myself. Uh, these days, if I want a snack, I have a piece of cheese and an apple, or maybe a banana. That's these days. You know, You know what's interesting? Not one person. I just put this. I put this thing up here. I know you can't see this because my head's in the way. It's the tug of war display advertisement. I thought somebody would say, "Hey Joe, that's a new display you have there." I mean, I've had this tug of war promo display for about a year and a half, I think, something like that. And it's in the box. It was in the box, and I was trying to find a way to display the whole thing, but I couldn't do it. Oh, look at all these nice sentiments in there. Death of Samantha, another Yoko song, yeah, is on Approximately Infinite Universe. I think Samantha was a reference to Yoko being called a witch, Samantha from Bewitched. I think it's about John's affair on election night 72. Are there any Planet of the Apes episodes that you wouldn't get away with today? Sure. Um, I nothing in common was yeah, Jackie Gleason and Tom Hanks. I never saw it. Jackie Gleason plays his dad, and I don't remember. Um, I think it's comedy, but there's also some, it can some drama too. I think. I mean, from what I understand about the movie, Glenn Campbell's last album was pretty good, though, even at that stage. Yeah, March 9th. Turn the clocks ahead 1 hour. Now that's a little, yeah, that's a little early for that. I gotta say, early for that. Yep. Oh, come on, stop this. Who you love more, me or Danny? Silly. You're being silly. Yeah, I get it, Patrick. I get it. Yeah, it would be not. Of course, I realize I'd have to move. I have to move this thing more this way. I understand. The problem is there's nothing to sit it on. There's something behind me that I could sit the display on. It rests on there. There's nothing here that I can sit it on. I've been retired for 19 years. Same thing here. Same thing. Oh, Jesus Christ. Same thing here. Here or there. There's nothing to sit it on. I mean, obviously, I realize that it makes more sense to put it here or over here, but there's nothing to sit it on. That's why it's stuck behind me. Agreed. You can imagine all the jiggery pokery in the studio, though. Even if your voice is terrible live, a new studio album can fix that. I agree. Oh boy. Silly people out there. Silly people. The desk is also where it is. There's something over here and there's something over there. The desk is squashed in the middle. There's no room to move anything. I don't have just, all the space around here. So, all right. So I'm going to keep it going a little longer. We're going to be doing 2 hours before you know it. I personally never have, and I hope I never do. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Ever think of redoing the room, making it more studio-like? Impossible. Hey, Amy, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Very nice to see you. Thank you very much for your generosity. Your ESP is on point, a family reunion. My question is, how do you rank the top four from the British invasion? Beatles, Stones, the Kinks, the Who. That's the exact order for me. Beatles, Stones, Kinks, and Who. That's it for me. I like all four of them. The Who I didn't like when I was younger. I didn't like the Who when I was younger. It took a while, and now I really like them. So there you go. Yeah, interior decorating, exactly. Yes, we talked about that. Yeah, Ringo played three songs. I heard there was Time on My Hands. I heard it was Act Naturally and With a Little Help from My Friends. That's what I heard. Amazes me that Frankie Valli needs to tour. He certainly sold lots of records. So how could he be hurting for money that much? Precisely, right? You'd wonder about that. And by the way, Kit, just so you know, Kit's here now, so I want to again, as I did before, I want to plug our Talk More Talk show. Please subscribe. Those of you who are not there, go over to YouTube, hit Talk More Talk, subscribe, please. You don't have to watch every show if you don't want, but some shows you may enjoy. Check it out. And, we just did a show with Tom Frangione, who went to see one of the Bowery shows that Paul was at. He talked about his experience there. And we finally all talked about our experience, how we felt about Ringo's Look Up album. What is it really country? Is it Americana? Is it somewhere in the middle? Is it something? And we talked about all the songs that we liked or not, everything. So go over there to Talk More Talk. We're working on another show. At some point soon, we'll have another show for you. And just stay in touch there and don't miss anything. And we have lots more coming up, no pun intended, on Talk More Talk. Precisely. We're trying to get to 2,000 subs. We're close. We're very close over at Talk More Talk to 2,000 subs. So, help us out there a little bit. I remember Kid having a Sergeant Pepper green screen on a stream. It was so awesome. Joe, ever thought of a green screen? Yeah, I've thought of it, but I just tend not to. But I've thought of it. I mean, I could even do it here. Let's see. Not really a green screen, perhaps. But like, how about this? How's that? Okay. If you travel to see Ringo, you might want more than three songs. Well, yeah, that's true. But this was different. This was the Grand Ole Opry show was different. It was not all. Uh, it was not all Ringo. Yeah, that's true. A lot of Paul is not touring because he needs the money or is greedy or wants the money. He likes the adulation. He likes the work. He likes to entertain the fans. How's that? Well, we're just having a little fun now, Lila. Just having a little fun. All right, back to business. Back to business. Yes, Yoko just had a birthday. She was turned 92. Well, I like to think I have a little more hair than they do in those pictures. Um, yeah, I know what you mean, Matthew. Yeah, that was a real disappointment. I mean, I was really thinking we would actually get a chance to see George either with Cloud Nine or maybe with the Traveling Wilburys. I was really hoping we get to see him. You know, when he did a little few, when he did a little stint in 1991 in Japan. I thought he was getting his toe wet, and I thought he was gonna come out. But Tom Frangione was on our show, Talk More Talk. Do you know where George's reissues are pressed? The vinyl is the best I've seen compared to Paul, John, or Ringo. No, I don't know. The Wilburys would have worked well. George wouldn't have to carry the whole load, which I don't think he liked doing. Exactly. I really thought we had a chance there. But all of the members of the Wilburys would have to be able to tour, willing to play, and not have other engagements. So I do understand. Olivia said George hated seeing the garbage produced at his 74 shows. He watched them clean up and was distraught. Yeah, well, yeah, but you have to understand too. Well, I don't. I did a video on this. I pride myself on not being a speeder. I can't stand people who speed. I've never sped in my life. I'm never a speeder, but they had this routine, this setup routine that they do. People are going to say, well, if you got a ticket, then you were speeding. Yeah, but they camouflage it in such a way that if you're doing like 20 miles an hour in a 15-mile zone, they were going after you, but there were no signs. Anyway, I'll not get into that now. It'll ruin everything. So, do I like any rock bands from the 2000s? Oh, I don't know. If I got to think about it, probably not. You know, but you see, the thing is, I'm perfectly happy where I am at what I like. I'm perfectly happy with enjoying music from the 50s through the 80s, maybe a little 90s here and there. I'm happy with that. Oh, thanks, Amy. I appreciate that. Oh, sure can. All in the family. She's looking for Archie Bunker, so I'm going to do it there. Geez, there, little girl. What's the matter? What are you talking about there, dingbaz? And you there, the meathead. He's there, meathead. Archie Bunker fans out there. Well, they like Archie Bunker impressions. You're supposed to be able to face your accuser in court. Not possible with cameras. Sea Moon are coming up. I'll go with coming up, although I like Sea Moon as well. I mean, they're very different. They're very different. Stack for yourself, huh? Best bunker impression. Oh, geez, yeah. Oh, come on there, little girl. Yeah. I don't, I don't know. I mean, if I hear something and it sounds enjoyable, I'll take that. I'll take it. If it sounds good, doesn't really matter. Do you listen to or collect much Sinatra? Beatles are first for me. Sinatra second. I actually have Sinatra. I I got rid of a lot of the vinyl I had on Sinatra. Almost all the vinyl's gone, but I do have CDs. I can't show you here. I can't get to it. I have like a CD collection here, the reprise stuff. I think I like the Capitol years better. What are we talking about here, James? There's no falling out between Joe Walsh and Ringo, if that's what you mean. I mean, they're brother-in-laws, brothers-in-law. Is that the way you say it? Brothers-in-law. You forget how brilliant pepper is. You go away from it for a while. Then when you return to it, it blows your head off again. You know, I remember I had a friend. This is back in like the 1980s when I was listening to the Beatles all the time. As I often tell you, and you got to believe me because I have no reason to lie, I don't listen to the Beatles all the time. I can't. I got rid of the Sirius XM channel because I couldn't stand. I was listening to so much Beatles, and in particular, the same songs again and again, that I was kind of like not liking the Beatles anymore. You could hear songs too much, too often. So there you go. But anyway, I had this friend that used to try to tell me this in the 80s, long before internet and long before Sirius radio and satellite radio. And he said, you know what you should do, Joe? You should stop listening to the Beatles for a while. Then you come back. And what I do is I listen to them again. And you know what I say to myself, you know something? These guys were really great. I'll never forget the way he said it. Like, obviously they're great, but just the idea of being away from it for a while, not hearing the music every friggin' day, which I try not to, and yeah, and it works that way if you stay away a while. Yeah. So where are we at? What's the good word? Pepper, Revolver, White Album, the holy trinity of Beatle albums. It's hard to disagree with that when people say. Like if people said to me, I've never heard the Beatles before. I've literally never heard a song. What should I do? I would say, listen, I tell them the White Album first, only because there's so much different types of stuff on there. Play the White Album, and I'd say here's the album I want you to do. Revolver, White Album. I don't know if I'd say Pepper and Abbey Road. I'd say play those three albums. Revolver, White Album, and Abbey Road, if you've never heard the Beatles before. But of course, if you play that stuff, then a lot of times they might not be able to go back to the early Beatles. The early Beatles will sound, too quaint, too bubblegum. I'll tell you what we'll do with the Outer Limits. How about the old "Don't call us, we'll call you"? I'll let you know when I see the Outer Limits, if I do. If I happen to come across the Outer Limits, fair enough. Because I really do want to get into that when I can find something. What's my favorite Art the Clown movie? Right now, it's 3. Terrifier 3. And I'm going to tell you, Terrifier 3 is not for everybody. Trust me when I tell you that. I mean, it's not for anybody. Really, it's way too gory. But yeah, I agree. You can hear the same artist too much. Sometimes you have to give them a rest for a while. When you come back, you remember why you love them. Exactly. That's what happens. Now, granted, if I'm going to play something Beatles related, I usually grab a solo Beatles album. Now, some people may say, well, what's the difference? Beatles or solo? It's the same thing. No, it's not really the same thing. But if I'm going on a ride, I may grab, like we talked about, Memory Almost Full. I'll grab Paul's Memory Almost Full before I grab, Rubber Soul, or something, But lately, I played Tom Petty the other day. We went on a trip, and I bought compilation discs of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. That's what I played. I like to get away from it. Can never tire of the early Beatles. The latest stuff, I've taken a break from that for years. Well, me personally, my favorite Beatles are the early Beatles, personally. Uh, how the Beatles transitioned in such a short time is incredible, as like the social surroundings. Exactly. That's what I always say. 1962 is so far from 1967. 67 is so different from 71. 71 is so different from 77. 77 is so different from 83. 83 is so different from 90. But the way I look at it is once you get to the 21st century, it's all the same. To me, 2002 is the same as 2006. 2006 is the same as 2009. 10 is the same as 12. 12 is the same as 18. 2022 is the same as 2025. I don't see any differences really. I mean, there's some things maybe, you know. Yeah, that's my favorite Beatles song. Every time, it's not easy to pick a favorite Beatles song. It isn't. But whenever somebody asks me, what is your favorite Beatles song? I always say She Loves You because of a few reasons. One of them was when I was a kid, 3 years old. That's when I heard She Loves You and fell in love with the Beatles. My mother says that all the time, you know. And I think because I love the early Beatles, She Loves You really encapsulates the early feel of the Beatles. That's the early Beatles when they were really full of energy. And also, when you hear that, it still makes you feel good. If you happen to be in the car or something and She Loves You comes on, you start right away when it comes on with the drum roll. Boom, 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 and right away you're into it. And you're in for 2-3 minutes, whatever it is, of pure Beatlemania. And I love it. I was listening to Rubber Soul today on the train. Fantastic. How familiar it is, but also fresh at the same time. That happens too. You see, but it's interesting. I got to say this, and you know what I'm talking about. Every time a certain party comes up here, we get other interesting people here too. I'm trying with you, but who are these other people that always follow you, or is it you? I don't know. 90s on felt pretty much all the same, more or less, historic events aside. I heard the Kendrick Lamar. That was a joke. I mean, at the what was it? Jesus, I can't think what it is. The Grammys, and it was pretty bad. Beatles for Sale was my introduction, but my favorite's always been Revolver. I Want to Hold Your Hand Live is so powerful. The I Can't Hide section sends everyone into delirium. True that. True that. And I'll Get You is one of my favorite Beatles songs. In fact, that single, She Loves You, backed with I'll Get You as the B-side. Great double punch. Is the footage of the one-to-one concerts getting restored and remastered? I know the EP for the concert came out for John. I hope both concerts come out. Yeah, it's getting restored, and there's going to be. I think the date is April 11th. April 11th. There's going to be a movie version of the one-to-one concerts. It's been remastered and it's coming out. Okay, I hear you, SHJ. I'm not saying necessarily it's you, but I'm saying that if it's not you, the people are following you all the time. But it's just the way it happens every time. But as long as you want to talk, we'll talk about stuff. The line "Love you till the cows come home" always makes me laugh. Never bothers me. It's a shame because I love that song. That song "When I Get Home," and that line like just ruins it for people. And it's a shame because it's such a great vocal from John on "When I Get Home." And the drums are so good in there, and the guitar, everything's good about it. And I love the Beatles, "Whoa Whoa I," chorus and everything. It's great. All right, there we go. I laugh at that line. Love you till the cows come home. I laugh at that line in a good way. I think it's funny and cool. Wow, look at this, 2 hours and 10 minutes. Usually these solo things by myself only go on for an hour and a half or something, and I got to get going anyway. It's going to be dinner, so I'm going to start winding this up. I'll get some last minute comments in here, and of course, I'm going to thank all of you for showing up. Boomers are very lucky people. We had the most interesting lives you could ask for. Today, the world seemed to live in an artificial, stress-filled environment. You're not freaking kidding. I love talking about the fantastic past. Exactly. Exactly. Very privileged, I feel. Anyway, that's it for this show. Thank you so much, everybody. This was really great. A lot of energy, a lot of good comments. I appreciate everybody. I want to thank people who helped out and chipped in and gave some uh, tips, if you will, for lack of a better word. Thank you so much. Peace and love. That's the only way. So thank you, everybody. Oh, wait a minute. One last thing. Wes popped in. So now that it's all over, this grand saga, The Secret of the Incas is finished. Where would you place it in the Heston film ranking? Low, low. I haven't seen every Heston film, but it's mediocre. You know, it's nothing special. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. But all right, this is a good way to end. All right, everybody. Thank you. I'll see you next time. How's that? Is that fair enough? Okay, sounds good. Take care, folks.